In this lesson, I want to give you a quick overview of Aweber, specifically how it works with the six-figure funnel formula. I'm not going to go through the nuances of setting up the little elements in Aweber because they've got a ton of tutorial videos and they have a great setup wizard that walks you step by step through the process. It's all very, very simple, but there's a few things that I want you to understand that are critical for you to grasp as it relates to using Aweber for the six-figure funnel formula. Number one is that Aweber refers to sequences as lists. So you're not going to see any kind of you're not going to see anything in here labeled sequences. The way I want you to think about it is that you know that as part of the six-figure funnel formula, you have 8 different email follow-up sequences. And what that means is that in Aweber, you're going to have 8 different lists. A list in Aweber represents a follow-up sequence in the six-figure funnel formula. And so you're going to have a different list for each of the different follow-up sequences. So you could see here, for example, that I set up 3 sample lists just so that you can see. So we've got list 0, right? This is the main prospect list. We've got list number 1. This is the customer captivation list. And list C, this is the main customer list. And so your Aweber account is gonna initially be set up with 8 different lists that match the 8 different sequences in the six-figure funnel formula. Now, in a later lesson, in lesson 6 of this module, I walk you through how many emails go into each of the different lists, each of the different sequences, what the theme of those different emails are, timing, and everything. But for right now, I just want you to remember, in Aweber, they are called lists, not sequences. Now, if we clicked on, let's say, list 1 right here for a second, thing that I want you to understand, let's just finish this real quick, just for right now. First is that at any time that you're working within Aweber, it's really important that you look up at the top and you look at the current list that you're working with. So in this case, we are working with this particular list. In other words, this particular sequence. So right now, everything we do will impact this sequence. So list 1 in the six-figure funnel formula is the customer captivation list. And so it's very important that you're always aware of what list you're working with, because even though the navigation doesn't change, what changes is the different lists that you're working with. And so all the different navigation applies to the list that you're currently within. So right now we are within list 1. And so we can look at the different subscribers in list 1. We can create opt-in forms if we wanted to. If you were going to use WordPress and you wanted to put an opt-in form to, let's say you were creating let's say you had your prospect list, right? Well, what we would need to do is we would need to create a sign-up form. We would need to create what's called an opt-in form, right? Now, fortunately, Lead Pages and other applications takes care of that for you, but that's where you would go to do that. Now, if we were, let's say, working with list 1, now, in order to work with list 1, in order to have this list send out messages, you go to under messages to follow-up series. And then you see that you've got, here is where you will take what you learn in lesson 6 of this module, and here's where you'll build out those different emails. And to build out an email, you just click create a follow-up. You'll have the opportunity right in here to personalize, customize the subject line. And then you have the opportunity to create your actual email content. So in here is where you could build your, where you'd create the email content, blah, 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 over here, and then click, save. Then we have the ability to set when we want it to go out. Do we want it to go out the next day, 2 days later? Again, all of which you're going to learn in lesson 6 as it relates to each of the different sequences. Then you click save and exit. And now what happens is you could see that I started this email with this list, this sequence. There was already an email that I had put in there as a test. And then this email that just got put in there. Now you can see that because I didn't play around with the settings. This one goes out immediately, which every first email in the sequence in every different list will go out automatically. This one, it says send 999 days after the previous message. So if we left it like that, this second email wouldn't go out for another 999 days after. To change that is we go click on next, and then over here, you could say send 1 day after previous. And what that does is that just means that that email message will go out 1 day after this one. So the way Aweber works, it is based on the previous email. So if we added another email and we said send 1 day after the previous, it would go out 1 day after this. And this goes out 1 day after this. And so very cool, very easy to set up these different sequences based on lists. Now in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to set up the automation for the entire amplification autoresponder chain.